All right, so today, welcome back. We're going to talk about this stuff right here. So, recently I placed an order with Amazon because, it's like there's certain stuff that I felt that I needed to add to, like, my kit and everything that we just weren't getting in our survival boxes. We were going to call them. And we'll talk about that later too. But this is some good stuff to pick up. This right here, I think this is like $36. But this is 1 pound of number 36 tar braided bank line. Now this stuff is super strong, rated at 360 pounds. Takes up, this is almost 500 yards of it, or 500 feet of it. Now, of course, I'm gonna put this out into smaller pieces. We'll probably use our Grim Workshop cordage roll, and we'll put some of this on there. We'll put some fishing line on there. I got a big old spool of fishing line around here somewhere. So we'll put some fishing line. We'll put some of this tarred bank line, and possibly some paracord, because paracord does serve purposes. More than likely, I will put some of the fire cord on there though. So because this stuff here is fantastic. Yep, this is super strong, reliable. So we picked this up. I think it's from Texas Bushcraft. Got it off Amazon. I think it was like $35. But that is a huge roll of tarred bank line. I've seen like the small ones, and I kind of thought this was going to be much smaller, so I'm pretty happy with this. So tarred bank line, should pick some up. Next up, we're going to talk about these right here. So these, this is a 2-pack of emergency sleeping bags. I think these were like 17, 19, something like that. But yeah, these are some more of these, like this Trailblazer one, but it's a little bit bigger. These type things, these are good to put like in like your car bags, your get home bags and everything. Just in case you do have to sleep out, because they're largely, these are not like the best, but these are good for like a night or two. They're Mylar. They're stronger than just like your Mylar emergency safety blankets, but they're not going to last forever. But they have the reusable bags. If you can get them rolled back up in there, it's fantastic. We'll try one of these out. Again, got a 2-pack. Because again, prepping for my whole family. Moving on, we did pick up this here. This treats 25 quarts. It's your potable water tablets. Ideally, you have like a cotton bandana or a shemagh or something, and you can filter dirty water. But even after you filter it, it's still not safe to drink. So, and you might need to keep like a low profile. If you can boil, I would go with boiling first, because it's the best way to purify your water. But if not, having these in your pack, if you have to keep a low profile, you don't want people seeing where you're at, but you're thirsty, you need to purify water, this is a good option. I think these were like, these weren't too much. These were pretty cheap. I'm not seeing a date on these. I know these things don't last forever, so you do have to, replace them every once in a while. But even with that, I would trust like slightly expired Aqua tabs than I would water. So all right, moving on. I picked this up because you're out in the middle of the woods, you're doing your thing, you're out in the desert, you're doing your thing. Your knife, it's like, and this is not good steel, right? But even if you have the best steel, right, it's going to start to dull. Like over time, it's going to start to dull if you use it. So what I got this, and this is going to go with like my my tool roll, but I got a portable. You got 400 and 1000 grit auger stone, with a nice little belt pouch here. So this is something that, you're going out, you put this on your belt so you have your sharpening stone with you, and you know it doesn't take up room in your pack. It's on your waist, so it you know kind of just, it's not too heavy anyway. But having this will go good with, like, you know, you got your, you know, we have our foraging pouch, we have our stone, you know, you got your knife, you know, and so you have a nice little belt kit. And so that's the way, you know, when you're walking around, if you need it, you know, you don't have to, you know, you're out, you're away from your camp, you know, you're doing woodwork, you know, you need to sharpen your stone, sharpen your knife. You got your sharpening stone handy right there, so you can sharpen it up. Good addition to your belt kit on top of the knife kit that we already have. So that's pretty good. Okay, and then, all right, and then of course for me and the family, I did pick up a 4-pack of these membrane solution water filters, personal water straws. Got a 4-pack of them, and membrane solution. Yeah, it's not LifeStraw, it's not Sawyer, but it is still a trusted brand. So I feel a little bit better with having a trusted name in there. I have other water straws, and I would still trust any water straw over pure water, but a 4-pack. So now my thinking is each person should have at least 2 of the individual straws, and then as a collective group, like, so as a family unit, we should have at least one of the larger pump styles. So like when, you know, you're cooking and stuff, you know, you pump it, you can pump a large amount of water. If you're out like traveling, then these are good for those, like, you know, fast minute, you know, you scoop it up in your canteen, you know, you put it in a bag, you know, this one don't come with bags, but you know, you can screw it on to the top of a bottle or something, and then you can get those individual waters going. So again, you don't want to play around with water at all. So, you know, ideally if you can boil it, it's best, but you know, if you need to do a large amount, like real fast, get those, you know, the pump style ones where you can just pump you know, a lot of gallons through and it cleans it out. Same thing with these, but these are just more of like for like a travel, like you have your LifeStraw, and I think each one of these is good for oh, it doesn't say on the box, but two of these will last you a while. So you'll have time, and if you're not using them every day, if you use them just as you need to and you keep them clean, they'll last a lot longer. So yeah, that's an important part of any kit that you're building, whether it's a get home bag, an inch bag, you know, a bug out bag, whatever it is you're building. Very important part. Now, picked up these. I got a 4-pack of these yo-yo reels. Right now, I'm pretty sure that, like, you know, like under like normal conditions, these are illegal in most states, right? But if you're in a survival situation, you know, it's not, you know, the books are, you know, everything's off, right? And so basically, you know, you tie these up, you put your bait out here, and boom, it automatically, you know, you set it, you throw your line out there, you know, you got your fly or your salmon egg or whatever floating on the water, the fish bites it, it reels it in. So, and I got a 4-pack, so again, I'll put one of these in my pack, one of these in my wife's, my son's, my daughter's, and that way, and you know, and show them how to use it, of course. But you know, you have to show them how to use it. But this way, if you get separated, then they have a way to. And granted, like where we're at right now, there's not like a lot of fishing. There are places, but there's not a lot. But something this light, if this light takes up no space at all, you know, and you know, you could even throw in like, you know, this one's even large, but you know, you could put, you know, you could take like, you know, a bobber. Well, you wouldn't need a bobber, but you know, you could take like a couple small split shot weights, you know, 5 or 6 hooks, put it in a pack, find yourself, you know, something to put on there as bait, you know, a worm, a grasshopper or something. And this takes up like no space, I mean, it's virtually, it doesn't weigh much at all. and it's a way to passively fish. And if it's and that just makes one less thing that you have to worry about to expend your calories on, because it takes almost no calories to do this. You set it, and then you can work on building a shelter, work on your water collection. You can forage, so you got your you got your foraging pouch, or you've got just like a plastic bag, and you can forage for like nuts and berries, or whatever's in your area. Like around here, it would probably be like doing this in the Palais. If you get like the nice fresh young pads, so you could forage, and you got this going on, and then you can fish. In addition to this, I'm gonna put some snares, some pre-built snares. Yes, they're heavier, but with pre-built snares, then you just set it, and you don't have to go through like all the tying everything. They're very reusable, so it's like you have them because they're very sturdy. Just like with this, you have it. It's very sturdy. It's gonna last last a while. And so, and of course, if you're together as if we're all together, then we have 4 chances for fish. 4 or 6 chances for like small game like rabbits or squirrels or something. And you set it, and then oh yeah, and the 4-pack, and it came with 4 of these right here, right? And basically what you do is you'll tie this through here, right? So you'll tie that through there, and then you tie this to like a stick or something. Tie this to a branch, and then so this is holding on to it, and then you catch your fish. Your fish is flopping around in the wind, runs out of oxygen, boom, you got yourself some meat. So it's I think that the 4-pack was like $17 or something like that. But in my opinion, this is a really good investment for any survival kit because it's so light. And even if you don't know how to fish, and it comes with, mine came with Torn, but it comes with your automatic reel, automatic yo-yo fishing reel. And it says the first thing it says there is check your local regulations before using this device. So, but if you're in a true survival situation, you just want to eat. And so we got that. And so as far as gear goes, that's everything I picked up. Obviously, I'm not buying knives or I'm not. There's some things I'm just not. I don't need to buy, right? I have a good knife. I have several good knives, and I have like a ton of mediocre knives that we've been getting off the years. We still got Gear Pack. We still got Barrel and Blade, but Barrel and Blade, I don't know, man. They need to get their shit together. Otherwise, I'm like January, February, March. If they don't get their shit together by next month, then I will be switching to sadly, and it's not something I want to do. I want to stick with Barrel and Blade because I like the whole concept behind it, and I've seen some of their past boxes, and they have good boxes. But if they can't get their shit together, then I'm gonna go with the pro level of Battle Box, and especially now that they're doing this, quarterly theme, so we might actually get like some, because if you think about it, one box you might get a theme, right? And you got like, you're spending like, I spend like 169, but it's like 119 for the Barrel and Blade, right? And you might get like one theme, right? Now I like Barrel and Blade, right? But the same process, right? With Battle Box, right? You get that, they do like one theme, right? And so you might get one cool box, and then the next box it's just like completely something different. So what they're doing now is Barrel and Blade, their Battle Box, they got like 3 months, like one quarter, and they build on one theme. And so instead of getting like 100, like I think it's like 120 to 129 or something like that, instead of getting 129, now you're getting like $330 worth of a themed gear. So, but I want to see how March turns out, because if you head on over to Paul's Gear Review, he's got the Battle Box ones up, and the first one was really cool, and everything made sense, and then the second one, that one, like everything in there, it made sense, and so it's all kind of building, and so Battle Box is going in a really good direction, and at Barrel and Blade, and I prefer to do Barrel and Blade, but if they can't get their shit together, again, they want to sit there, and my box is in the mail now. It went out on the 14th, but if you head over to Brad's Journey, his video was uploaded on the 8th for the January supply drop. February 8th, the January supply drop was uploaded on his video. I emailed Barrel and Blade, and I was like, hey, there's no shipping information, and I saw this video, and the response was, oh yeah, brother, you must have been watching an old unboxing. Well, I sent the video, and I said, look, this was my supply drop for January. This is the video. The contents match up. So next week when I get my barrel and blade, if it is the same contents as the box that Brad was able the video that Brad was able to drop on the 8th of February, and that doesn't mean he got it on the 8th, but he was able to drop it on the 8th of February, then I mean, it's like I wasn't even I was just asking if I could get some tracking information. All they had to say was, "Oh well, your box it's going to be going out like on the 14th." And I'd have been cool with that. You don't have to sit there and tell me, "Oh, you watched an old unboxing," when I know that I didn't. And then after I sent the video and everything, no response now. And then this month, when they charged me, they only charged me for the Chow line. They didn't charge me for the Recon and the Chow line, and I'm supposed to be getting the Recon and Chow line so that I get, I'm getting the gear and I'm getting the food in one box. And so I'm like, I sent them an email. I said, look, you need to get this fixed before it ships, And I don't want to pay for two shippings because then it's going to cost more than it does for just the one shipping. So we'll see. And then of course, then it says that my next one is for March 15th, and it says Recon and Chow line. But this one said February Recon Chow line, but they didn't charge me for the Recon. So I'm gonna send him. I'm gonna send him a very, polite and good email. Oh, and when I get my box I'm probably I know I might send him an email, but I'm probably going to link Brad's video in the description, which came out on the 8th. So if you watch, man, you don't watch his, which is weird because he's much bigger than me. But if you don't, then you can go see his video. And then I'm also going to screenshot the emails that I got from Barrel and Blade, just so you can see, right? And because it's like one thing, like with the SHTF box, right? Yeah, we dropped it. We were getting the same, same stuff, and it's like not even like the good, the same stuff, but when you get the same item 2 months in a row, that's why it's like, what, something's got to change. But the couple times that I had to go, well, the few times that I had to go to customer service for SHTF, one, they have a phone number, so you can actually talk to somebody. But whether it's email or telephonic with SHTF Bud K, the customer service there is awesome. I will say, if anything, if it's something that they can fix, they fix it, and they fix it quickly. So customer service is fantastic. And if and one of my biggest gripes for any company, right? Because let's be honest, mistakes happen, right? Like GearPack, they charged me early for this box, for next month's box, right? For the February box, they charged me early. I sent an email out, right? And then and I understand, like with emails, it's like, okay, give them 24, 48 hours, so they can get through all the emails. I'm okay with that, right? Because it tells you, hey, a live person is going to get back with you within this time frame. And I've been noticing that a couple times in the past I had dealt with GearPack's customer service, and it was not that good. But now whoever they have working the email line, I think it's just one person, just like with Lucky Tackle Box. But the person's name is Jessica. And the customer service for GearPack is so spot on. She apologized. She's like, look, we can do this or we can do this. And I was like, you know what? That's cool. I was able to cover it. So, there was no major damage done. I was just curious if this, and she was like, and they were like, what we can do is we can do this for next month, and but wonderful, right? Customer service, not some nonsense like with Barrel and Blade with the whole, oh, you're watching an old unboxing, which isn't true. It wasn't true. I don't know. Barrel and Blade might cancel me if they see this video, but I doubt that they will. But the point is this: customer service when you're dealing with anything is super important, right? Because mistakes happen. I'm not saying mistakes don't happen, right? And it's like, but when you and And the thing is I like when they were like, Gear Pack's like, well, we can put 20% off on your next order. And they don't even need to do that. If they do, awesome. Because they already give me like gear bucks every month, so they're reducing my Gear Pack every month anyway because I've been with them for so long. And after this email, I foresee staying with them a lot longer, just because they're like good. It's the company. Customer service. Good customer service, right? Sometimes their boxes are a little bit. What are we thinking here? But I mean, it's a mystery box, so you get what you get, right? But I think that the fact that the ownership of it, because I got charged like on the 11th instead of the 15th, so like 4 days early, and I was like, I don't have the money in the bank right now. I was able to get it there and cover it, so no problem, no damage was done this time. So, but just the fact that they're like, well, we'll give you 20% off your next box, and I don't even need that. I'm not even about that but for me, it was just if Barrel and Blade would have said, well, you know what, some boxes did go out earlier. Yours is going to be coming out on this date. That's why there's no tracking information. We are getting it out to you. I'd have been like, all right, cool. So it's not like it's like, hey, you looked at it, okay, yeah, we're getting it together. That'd been one thing, But to just sit there and say, oh, it's my mistake. I'm watching an old unboxing, and I'll tell you what, like I say, when I open it, and it's gonna be the same one. I promise you, it'll be the same box that Brad opened. Right? It's gonna be the same one. I'm gonna link his video. I'm gonna put the screenshots of the emails in there and say, look, this is not cool. So, all right, the last three items that we got from Amazon, right? As you know, I do like this American Outdoor Classics series right now. I got 4 books right here. Well, we picked up book number 22, How to Camp Out. And it is, well, we're looking at 134 pages, including the index. John M. Gould, Legacy Edition. It was originally published in 1877. And so, and I think that one of the reasons why, and I would definitely promote this series, right? Because 1877, turn of the century, 1900, 1910, when these books were being written and published, right, was before the advent of stormproof matches, before the advent of chem lights, before the advent of, emergency radios, with flashlights and everything, right? This stuff here, this stuff is like, this is kind of like that whole like, oh, forgotten knowledge, right? Because I guarantee you a lot of the information in these books, the average person does not have. And these books show us how to, how to camp out, right? And if the grid goes down, you may be forced to camp out, right? You may be forced to go on the move because you can't survive where you're at. This, how to camp out, right? It's just like with this one, right? Building with logs. Most of our building these days is like, metal and concrete. If you have to build with wood because there's no concrete or bricks around, these are like forgotten. This is like forgotten information, and so I like to read it from like the beginning of like the beginning of like the modern idea of camping out, right? And so like afoot camping out. Small parties traveling afoot and camping is chapter 2. Chapter 1, how to camp out. Chapter 1, getting ready. And so it goes through like, stuff you're going to need, stuff to check, stuff you might not think about because we don't camp out that much. And when we do, a lot of it's glamping, right? It's not really camping, it's glamping. Let's be honest, right? Not a lot of people get out there and really like, do stuff this way. So good book. Like I said, that's volume 22. I think that so far I have volumes 4, 9, 10, 15, and 22. And so my plan is to get this whole library. I like how they look. That's going to look really nice on a shelf. But this is knowledge that, hey, and if I have to travel, I'm going to put those books into a tub, and that books are going with me, right? Knowledge is super important. The next one I got is by Jenny Rimple. And this one I think is super important, super important, because when you think about a grid down, if it's EMP, if it's a social, a social collapse, if the internet goes down, and the internet goes down, people are gonna be losing their mind anyway. But there's gonna be certain things that we don't have access to anymore, and one of them is the pharmacy. And this one here, you know, forget the pharmacy, grow your own medicine, right? And so basically, this talks about okay. All right, so here we have ginger, right? Zingiber officinale. As we've seen the many benefits of ginger, I won't repeat what we've already learned. The anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties of ginger can reduce harm to your immune system and help it function as it is supposed to. So, ginger shots, a drink, not a needle, are an excellent way to boost the immune system. You got golden seal, echinacea, and this falls under, what's the chapter? Immune system, right? And so this tells you, you know, herbs and plants you can grow and eat, drink, make teas of it, on how to like help certain things. I have another one here. I have home remedies, but sometimes having more than one. And we're gonna go ahead and this one here. 65 herbs, spices, flowers, and seeds that can boost your health, reduce symptoms of chronic conditions, and prevent many other diseases. 5 simple steps to create your own herb garden in any size. 11 ways to turn your herbs into healing remedies with zero experience and zero spending. So, good book to get. I'm gonna read this, and I'm gonna start breaking this down, chapter by chapter. I'll probably do it on TikTok, or I might do reels here. But but this right here, information that if there is like a loss of power, loss of internet, if you can't Google, if you can't get to the pharmacy and get your medications, this is gonna be valuable information to have. So, and again, like I said, the most important thing is knowledge anyway. These, these right here, right? This yo-yo reel does you no good if you do not know how to use it, right? Let's be honest. You can have the best equipment in the world, but if you don't know how to sharpen a knife, this does you no good. If you don't know how to use a knife, this does you no good. So knowledge is super important. Anyway, and then the last item I got, and probably the most expensive thing that I got, I'm not sure if you remember, but about a year and a half ago, we got Back to Basics. Well, this is the set. This is the companion book in the series, hardback by Abigail. Well, edited by Abigail R. Gehring. It is 522 pages, and it is homesteading. And so, and this is another one of those books, a backyard guide to growing your own food, canning, keeping chickens, generating your own energy, crafting, herbal medicine, and more. And this is the second edition, updated and revised. And I had the first book. I've been wanting to get the second. I've been wanting to get this companion series, and so now we have both books in the series. And you got Back to Basics and homesteading. So I mean, and I plan on, we're still paying our house off, right? So we still have like certain obligations here. Our son's in high school. We're paying the house off. We got to pay the car off. So right now, we're still like, I'm trying to get my channel boosted, so that I can have, some, I mean, it's like, look, I'm gonna do the channel no matter what. But ideally, I want to get monetized, so that I have like, even if it's just like a few $100s coming in, right? Just to have that residual like monthly income coming in is gonna be fantastic. I'm not I'm 53 years old. Don't have this mythological thought that I'm gonna be like I'm gonna get I'm gonna get like 10 million followers and everything, and I'm just gonna be getting tens of $1,000s a month. No, but I do think that at my age, with doing with this, and then I have another channel that I'm like working on a lot, working hard on. That's gonna be El Paso Food and Fun. You know, it's completely different from this because you know I'm not all doom and gloom and oh you got to prep and everything. So um, so you know it's like so I'm trying to do two channels. You know, and yes, I do this for fun, right? This is kind of like a hobby for me. I enjoy doing this, right? I'm gonna keep doing this whether I get monetized or not. I'm gonna keep making videos, and I'm gonna keep putting videos up. You know, if I get hey, I get 10 views, I'm like, hey, you know what? That's 10 people that at least clicked on the video, watched it for a few minutes, maybe the whole thing, maybe not, but you know, it's like so people are still watching stuff regardless. And hey, if you're watching it and you get something out of it, that's even better. But I do this because pardon me. You know, I think that this is a fun hobby for me. You know, making videos, talking to people. So I'm going to keep doing this. That is just a fact. But if I can get to a point where the videos I'm putting up is getting me like $300-$500 a month, on top of this, on top of that, on top of this, it just to get paid for something that I'm having fun doing, hey, you can't beat that. So, um, but and eventually, and the thing is that would be nice because after we get the house paid off and everything, you know, my wife wants to get another house, and the plan that we have going on is I'm gonna try to use the VA loan, try to get like a triplex or a quadplex, in the area. We have to, there's certain rules you have to do. You gotta live there for like a year or whatever. But what I want to do is start that one. This house be paid off, then we can like rent this house out, rent the other units in the duplex out or whatnot, and then we can start generating income from our properties, right? And then I got income from my retirement and my disability and hopefully my YouTube channel. And so and then the plan is that I've been talking to one of my sons, and the plan is that I want to buy 150 acres, obviously not in the desert, but somewhere where you got fresh water, you've got good climate, so you can grow food, you can build an orchard, you can have chickens, you can have cows, you can have pigs. And I want to get and I know I'm old, but and I do have my body is kind of starting to have some issues, but I'm still strong enough, I think, that and I'm gonna be I want to build I want to build a homestead. I want to I'll have someone build the house, obviously, because my wife does need certain luxuries, and I can agree with that. But but I want to have a garden, a good size. I want to have a garden that's big enough to not only feed my family year round, but build up that storage so that I can have, yes, we can eat year round, but we also have food that we can eat for a year if there's nothing going on. And so, and same thing, like raise pigs, you get pork. Raise cow, you got milk, you got beef. Raise chickens, you got eggs, you got chicken. You know, raise rabbits, you got rabbits. You know, you get quails, right? You got expensive eggs, expensive birds. So, and then and then ideally, it's kind of like the residual income I have coming in, and then the income that I can generate from having excess chickens, excess eggs, excess fruits and vegetables, excess, and then it just kind of all pieces together, and then and then ideally, we can become more self sufficient. It's like we're right now we're looking at getting, as I've said, this small office here. We're going to be building a shed that's going to be at least twice this size, maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure the dimensions of this room, but we're going to get a much larger shed with a loft in the top. One of the barn house style ones. And my goal is to get the solar panels and the conversion and everything, and I want to practice my learning how to build solar so that when we do my property, well, now it's like I know what I have to do to go to primarily solar and wind, right? Because I know that they have like wind. You can buy like wind generators too, and I want to do that as well because I want to learn. I want to learn how to do it, so that way I don't have to. Yeah, somebody will build my house, but I can work on the the solar array, the wind array, so that I have that backup power, so that if the power goes out, we're good to go. So, right, but that's it. So that's that's kind of the whole idea behind the homesteading and back to basic books, is so that when and so we have like the basics, like I've got horticulture, I've got fishing, I've got home preserving, I've got back to basics, I've got homesteading, I've got a bunch of books over here. We're working on the outdoor library series. We got the home pharmacy, we got home remedies, and so it all is going to fit together at some point in time in the future. So, but that is it. I know this has been a long video. Hey, if you got this far, awesome. Thank you. Leave me a comment. Do me a favor, hit that like button. It really does help. And share this video out if you want. That'd be great too. I think I have shares. People share my videos. It's kind of amazing, but they do. And not me, So, but that's it. You got to think about all of your gear with, like, say when I got this, water, tool maintenance, cordage, food acquisition, because I've got a million, I mean not a million, but I've got so many, and I've got some that are better than others. This is a Gerber. This is a pretty nice one. This is it's a Gerber. This is a K-Bar knockoff, from Bud K, but I really like this knife. It feels good in the hands. It's actually, I've done work with it, and it does pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't want that to, I wouldn't, yeah, it's like if I'm around doing stuff, yeah, I'll take this out camping and stuff. But in a bad situation, I would choose this Gerber over that one any day. We got this from Gear Pack, and that's a hefty blade. It has a nice edge. I'm not sure what the steel is, but I guarantee you it's better than that steel. And well, I mean, you don't even need to use the retention strap because this ain't going nowhere. But so knives, I got knives, right? I got knives. Cordage, you can never have too much cordage. Water, tool maintenance, food acquisition. Right. That's it. I hope you liked the video. Again, I plan on doing more knowledge-based different videos this year. We're still going to do our openings, but I'm cutting back on I plan on cutting back on the amount of stuff that I'm buying, because now that I'm getting like more books, I want to start doing like more knowledge-based stuff. Probably shorter. Read a chapter, take some notes or something, and then talk about something that I've learned. In like a short, 7 to 10 minute video. So, hopefully you like that stuff. We're still gonna have Gear Pack. Barrel and Blade, maybe. Monster Bass. In a couple months, when we kind of got everything situated, I am gonna get Lucky Tackle Box again. Yeah, it's like, I know that Lucky Tackle Box is like your knockoff lures and stuff, but they got some pretty cool stuff that I think is gonna be pretty good. There's a couple on Amazon I want to pick up. There's like a really big one. They got some like glow in the dark stuff. There's a lot of interesting tackle boxes on Amazon that I want to check out. Here in like a month or so, it should be warm enough to go over to the Rio Grande trails. I've been doing some digging, and there is fish over there, sunfish, occasionally a gar. Catfish, bass, sometimes trout, not very often, but sometimes, because you get that overflow from the Rio Grande. So, so in a month or so, it should be warm enough for that. We're gonna be focused on the garden a lot. as you, well, I don't know if you watched the video yet or not, but where I pulled up all that Texas sage, I planted some trial plants. And I think that I have radishes and turnips, or radishes and beets are sprouting. So, or beets and turnips. No, I'm pretty sure it's radishes the first one, because I like radishes. So, but we got either turnips or beets, parsnips and carrots still yet to sprout. And then I got some small sprouts on my Swiss chard. this week I do plan on getting that the solar drip system set up. So I got like an extra day off this week today, but I do plan on getting that solar drip system installed either on Tuesday or Wednesday, probably Wednesday. Um, I still got to come up with a water source, but I think that I have one. I think that because where I put my aluminum cans, I think I'm just gonna empty that out, clean it out, and I'll use that for the water storage because it's a good plastic trash can, and it's dark so it won't grow algae or anything. And then I just have to come up with some other way for to do my aluminum cans. But uh, yeah, so that's kind of what I got planned going on for this year. I want to start doing more, knowledge and actual videos, and less of just opening stuff. Because I mean, yeah, I like opening the boxes. People watch it, but it's kind of like an oversaturated market too. And when I'm competing with like Brad's Journey and Paul's Gear Review, it's I mean they're bigger than me. So, and I'm not hating on them. They started before me, and I mean I'm subscribed to both of them. If you aren't, you should subscribe to their channels. Brad opens a lot of good stuff. Paul opens. He has like Battle Box, and he still does the SHTF box. At least for another month or two, unless they go the way of the dinosaur with him as well. But he does. I think he does a pocket box still, and I gotta figure a different niche here. I'm still gonna do those, but I want to do something more than just this. So, and then of course, but that's about it. All right, hey, thanks for watching. Until next time, keep prepping.